Hey, Bernhard Gronau. Now, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, it works quite well. It's hard to pronounce right in English.
So I just passed, right? Didn't fail.
No, no, you didn't fail.
Okay, so you are very famous among Beaver builders, among people who use Pods plugin. And
hmm
so I'm sure a lot of those people who use the products that you are associated with would want to know what's your background in terms of your online life.
Well, on a life, I mean, IT is kind of a hobby, which is getting more and more. I did study that direction, but most of those stuff is, I think, like the most of us are, is a little bit self-taught, read on the internet, tested things, tried things, and so someday you get to use those skills, and yeah, it's just like a journey. You need something, you read it up. It's quite easy nowadays. If you know a little bit about how to use Google, you find almost everything out there.
So when did your online journey of building websites started?
Well, really started, I think the first steps long time ago was building a website or at the first little forum for our online gaming community. So I played an online game, and it was the start because we needed a forum and a TeamSpeak, and I was always interested in the technical stuff, but not hadn't a real education back then. Yeah, and so it started all.
I know, but many people don't know that you also have your main business as a chocolate shop business.
Yeah, together with my brother, we started like about 3 4 years ago
Hmm.
to sell coffee and tea, which the coffee is roasted in Austria. And along the way, we stumbled upon Belgian chocolate and got it exclusively for Austria. And that's where the money comes from. So the IT business is my, I wouldn't say hobby because it's a little bit more now, but it was always a side business because I did this stuff for the company. The online shop is still could need much more love, but the most customers are from hotels and gastronomy and coffee shops and stuff like that. Yeah, it adds up surprisingly.
So WordPress and chocolate, very interesting combination. And now you just mentioned that your WordPress thing was just a hobby and now it's getting serious. I'm sure it's
Yes.
getting serious considering the amount of effort that you're putting in a lot of things that you are involved in, which we will be talking in a bit. But first, among my friend circles, a lot of people associate you with one very important thing, which is Pods plugin. So how did your journey with Pods development team start?
About 4 or 5 years ago, together with a friend of mine, we had to build a little database for their stuff, for the internal stuff, and we decided, okay, to use WordPress because they needed a website too. It was for an Austrian government, and she worked there and wanted to build it in-house. And so I researched and said, okay, how can we do it? And the first iteration was more or less uh, almost outside of WordPress, and then step by step we improved. And at some point, I used the advanced custom types from Pods. And about a year ago, I started to switch to custom post types because some stuff is much easier to do, and it was sufficient. So it's a learning from a learning progress for me too. Sometimes to see, okay, what's the best solution or how to do it best. It's not always obvious at the start.
So you decided on using Pods, and how did your using from Pods, you went into the people who make Pods, and how did that connection happen?
Well, as many of us, I joined the Slack and kind of got help there
Mm-hmm.
and stayed there to give back and to help other people with stuff I learned
Mm-hmm.
being there. So it's a little bit of community effort, you could say. And for me, it was just a nice small community, and yeah, it just kind of happened user had a question and I did see that it helped, and and then the REST API happened, and I used for the project the first REST API version. And then we tried to make the second version. That's never happened really because it was integrated into Pods itself. So, and in this process, you got to know the people and somehow stuck around.
Okay, just for people who do not know Pods, Pods is a free WordPress plugin that helps you build custom post types and custom fields. And it is an amazing plugin, and we'll talk about the amazingness of Pods in a bit. But let's get back to basics like custom fields. Now, how would you define custom fields to a new WordPress user?
It's like an additional information you can store together with your custom post type.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have the post title and the content and the date. And if you have something additional, you can store it there. Like, I don't know, a link to a Twitter post, or the example I like to use is like if you have books, because that's everybody understands, and you write about a book, and then you could add a field for the author of the book. If you write multiple times about books, then it's a good idea to store it together with the post, or one step further in a custom post type, because custom fields normally make really sense in combination with a custom post type. If it's like a database structure. Did it make sense, or was it a little bit too advanced?
Yeah, but because custom fields itself is a little advanced if you're explaining that topic to a new WordPress user. So that's what custom fields are all about. How do you decide when to have a custom field and when not to have a custom field?
Well, every time if you think you might have the same information not only once, but in multiple cases.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's something like even WordPress itself has a kind of custom field, it's just predefined for you because you have the post title, the post content, the post date, you have the image, the featured image. So that's all separate information. And if you have, I don't know, a third information like the location or whatever, then you have another information. So it's like nothing which is completely separate or new. It's just stored somewhere else.
Okay, now traditionally, custom post types, custom fields, they are often looked at as a complex implementation for an average user. Now, I know things are changing with tools like Pods and others, but why do you think custom fields functionality is difficult to grasp? Because even when I was new, I would stay away from custom field because I was like, this is a ghostly area that I don't want to get into, because I would now the story is a little different thanks to Pods and other tools. But why do you think it's difficult for people to grasp the understanding of custom fields and implementing them on WordPress platform?
I think it depends on your background, because if you have no idea about databases or structured content, then the concept itself is new to you. So it doesn't matter if it's easy or hard to use. You need to understand the idea behind it. I think, and that's a learning curve. Yes, I don't think much you can do to make it really easier.
Yeah, because
especially as posts itself are not really a typical content. It's like a posting, yes, but it's very, very versatile, or can be used in many, many ways.
Yeah, and if you add even WordPress doesn't help in that case, because if you had a custom field from the default feature provided in WordPress under the post editor, it leaves many people guessing. I think according to you, could WordPress had done better at providing that feature so that it was less fearful introduction of custom fields to users?
It's difficult because the most basic fields are there. and everything else depends on your use case. So they had to make an abstraction and say, okay, that's our basics. I mean, historically, WordPress had nothing else, and they just then implemented it. That's the reason why it's still different to use posts and pages or custom post types, because they are one thing on the one hand, and on the other they aren't. So
yeah, because from where I'm coming from, like if you do not install any custom post type or custom field plugin, and you just use the custom field option under the WordPress post editor screen, you can add a new custom field, add a data value for that custom field, but the person is left guessing, hey, I added the data, now where does it show in the front end?
Yep.
So that's kind of a missing piece of puzzle, which I think plugins like Pods, ACF, and others are helping in getting people easier with custom fields. Now let's talk about Pods plugin itself. Now Pods is my favorite go-to plugin for implementing custom fields.
Good choice.
So since you are actively involved in the with the development team of the Pods now, and ins and out of what Pods is all about, how would you define the use of Pods plugin to a person who is new to custom fields concept?
Well, the beautiful thing about Pods is, compared to some other plugins that you can have, create the custom post type.
We'll bash those plugins in a while, don't worry.
No. They have all their merits. But you can, it's one of the few ones where you can create the custom post type and its fields in the same place. And what I like about it is that you can create the custom post type and then assign the fields to it. So that's for Pods, that's one thing, the custom post type with its fields, because that's a distinction to many or some other custom field plugins.
Okay, and
I think that's the core of it.
And based on your experience at Pods team, what type of user prefer to use Pods plugin for implementing custom fields? Are they like newbies, intermediates, or expert developers?
I think we have all of them.
Okay.
The really advanced developers tend to use stuff like custom meta boxes too, or things like that where it's more code based. It depends if they know Pods or not, because many people don't know how deep you can go with Pods or how much stuff is possible, because it lacks some of the documentation, and you need to dig into the code to take a look, or to ask some of the Scott or PG Levis about, okay, where can I find that or how to use that, because it's very powerful due to its history, because it's we are 10 years now into the existence of Pods, and there is much behind it which did happen over the years.
Now, even though Pods is a free plugin, how would you sell, or should I say recommend, Pods plugin over other solutions like ACF, Toolset, Metabox, probably a few more new ones that have emerged?
Well, the thing is, the question is often, okay, you are not paid, and will you survive? And I say, you never know. With each of them, if a company decides we don't need that anymore, or we don't want that anymore, and it's open source, so Pods is for sure the easiest one to fork or to continue to work on. It's since years sponsored by Automatic itself, so the main fees are paid by the big company behind WordPress. So as long as they don't decide it's a bad way, Pods won't go away, because the money is there. The additional funding is a little bit on the rising, so friends.pods.io, and we have some sponsors, and they're getting more. I always invite people, just join us, help us. It's not easy at the start, because it's always hard to get to know the workings, but everybody can contribute. And for me, it's something like giving back to the community, because we use all WordPress for free. And awesome tool. And why not, if you find something, a bug, or have an idea, why not contribute?
Yeah,
And
now
that's
you just,
documentation or translation or whatever.
mhm. You just mentioned that the pods is supported by the automatic team, and one thought just crossed my mind. I hope pods doesn't get renamed to Guten pods. Considering the state of affairs, everyone has their swords out to fight.
I think Gutenberg itself is to move in the right direction, but coming from pods, I don't like that everything is per default stored in the post content. It makes it easy, I know, but it's exactly pod, what is not pods, because we store it separately.
Mhm.
And as soon as you need your data, not only to view the single post, but maybe to search by it or to have some missing meaningful relation between it, then you need the storage separate, because else you can't query it in any way with performance, because it's all in one big blob in the content.
Now, if pods did not exist, what would be your go-to solution for custom fields implementation on WordPress?
I don't know really. I mean, I might try custom meta boxes just because it's pure code. And
I know
it's
you're
easier.
wearing pods t-shirt, but still you can be honest.
I would take a closer look at Metabox
Okay.
because they are very close to things like they are done in pods, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Take a closer look. ACF is getting better performance-wise, but still some decisions I don't like. And there is nothing which really does the relationships like pods does it. Toolset did add something similar, but not really. And
And
yeah, there is
Metabox, have you played with the Metabox, the new one?
a little bit.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong. I see a lot of people say this, that if you build a site or build custom fields data on ACF vis-a-vis on pods, like the same structure, ACF does require more resources or more, intensive hard work in pulling the data out and displaying it. Is that correct?
A few months back, a user did some tests and they confirmed that, but it always depends on the use case.
Okay.
Like always in web programming, it depends what you do and how you do it, and what kind of data you have or need. They had some storage duplication or some double queries because of how they work. I didn't dig into it deeper. I just did see the numbers.
I'm not sure because I'm not aware of the background nitty-gritties of how the data is stored when you use pods or ACF. So does ACF store data differently in database as compared to say ACF when building just custom fields?
Not really. Or let's say it depends on the field type.
Okay.
Basically, every custom post type plugin stores the data more or less the same way, because you have I don't know how much do people know watching that, but WordPress itself has one table for the basic post type information, like post title,
Mm-hmm.
data, all the permalink, all that stuff is in one table.
Okay.
All the other stuff is just a row in a different table. So
Mm-hmm.
there's the data stored, and then it depends. Some of the field types from ACF store all their information in one field,
Okay.
and like for some repeating stuff or something like that. But it depends, because that's not generally always the case. And pods, we have everything is stored in a separate field, so you can easier query it, and it's not serialized. It makes it a little bit easier to access the data, but due to the way how WordPress is built, everything is stored more or less like a text string, and then it's integrated.
Okay, let's leave the competitors and get back to pods. So which features you would love to see in pods that exist in other solutions but not in pods as of now?
Some of the field types, we're working on them together with the next release, like a maps field, for example. because that's one of the most requested features, I think.
Okay.
To make it easier to handle maps, to have just the coordinates stored in a one defined way. But you change it with the Google Maps API and other stuff. It's always the question: okay, how do we do it properly to get it out, to interpret the data? Because to store it, it's just latitude and longitude in most cases for the most plugins. But depends what you do next for the display.
So what's coming?
A little bit improvement in the user interface could never hurt, because they are for me, it's not a big problem, but currently you have just the output of all fields.
Yeah.
There's code for it to split it up, to make it a little bit nicer, to group stuff, to change labels, but there's no user interface for it. Stuff like that, I'm sure could help, especially new users or non-developers, because PHP code isn't easy for everyone.
Yeah, so that's your wish list, but what's confirmed and coming in the next version of Pods?
The biggest point, when I'm just a little bit, that's all by Scott and the others, the big move will be that there is a proper PHP object for the Pods configuration, because currently it's just arrays, and technology, this will help to do further stuff then, build based upon that. Like there are plans, but I'm not sure if it will make it into 2.8 to make a file-based configuration, because that's an often requested feature, and other stuff, because currently Pods stores audit configuration as a custom post type in the database.
Okay, so now let's switch gears and focus on Beaver Themer from Beaver Builder, whose t-shirt or sweatshirt you are wearing now. So you exclusively made Pods Beaver Themer add-on for better integration of Beaver Themer add-on with the Pods plugin. So how did that idea come?
I don't know. It started like the Beaver team told about the new great stuff they're working on, and I thought, well, that would make perfectly sense to make the output of Pods fields even easier. It was like scratch your own itch, because I'm using Beaver Builder, because it makes it fast and easy to build sites. I mean, theoretically, I know all the JavaScript and CSS stuff, and with a little bit of copy and paste and help from others, I'm sure I can do everything on my own. But as I'm back then, I wasn't an everyday coder, and I'm still not, because there's the other company to run and like all the nasty stuff around it. And so it's always to remember, okay, which was this CSS string, and what was exactly the property, and why need this to be a float or a fixed or position absolute, all this minor stuff, which you always tend to forget. And then, okay, why doesn't it do it what I want? Because I'm not doing it on daily basis. And with Beaver Builder, it's fairly easy, because most of the stuff is taken care of for you. And you can go in and say, okay, I want this little extra, or use stuff like microthemer to tweak around it a little bit, and then put the code in the CSS file. So it started like scratch your own itch. And I even, the Beaver theme didn't plan to integrate it. So I said, okay, then I built my first plugin and release it on the repository. And I asked the Pods team, and I said, no, just do it. It's not a big deal. I used Pods as the first term, and that triggered the team of the plugin repo to ask the Pods team. And from there, it got suddenly merged into the Pods team. And which was a great move, because Scott Dark did a review on the code and improved it, or let's say told me, okay, look there, because he has much more experience than I. And so it got a really great integration.
So that Pods Beaver Themer add-on, it started as your own thing, like you developed the whole thing in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And now, are you still working alone on it, or even the core team has started contributing in it, or someone else has taken over? What's the status now?
Most of it is by myself. I had a little bit help from Scott always to cross check and tell me, okay, well, let's do it this way because whatever, it's better. And so we have a very good caching and all that stuff. So that's performant. But most of the stuff is from my side. That's the reason why the latest release is delayed, because I didn't find the time due to a little bit of illness and everything. Because the plan was to release it together with the Beaver Themer update with the new conditional stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm back late, I think 3 weeks or 4.
So the next version of this add-on would support the new conditional features that has been added to Beaver Themer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the basics are working, but I'm not fully happily with the way, or not really sure how much help to provide users, because it's a little bit more tricky to select or the present drop-down fields like I do it for the integration with Beaver Themer for the modules, because it's the context is a little bit bigger, and so it might become a very huge list, and that's not really a good thing for users, I think, because it should be easy to use.
So is Pods gonna show love to just Beaver Builder ecosystem, or are you also planning to expand beyond Beaver Builder, like target like Elementor and other page building platforms?
There is an integration for Elementor. They built it on their own.
Wow, cool.
We all have, because I think it would have become a little bit more performant. But luckily, Adam Price provided me with a license key, because the big advantage with Beaver Builder is the developers are very communicative. So they give you information, they give you access. That isn't the case for some others, like Elementor. I don't know if they don't want. I think it's a community or a company thing, because we didn't get access like with Beaver Builder. So it's harder to help or to give input to the back. We did report on GitHub some issues and they fixed it, so that's worked, so that's not bad, but it could be easier for both sides maybe. Then I was in contact with the Breezy team. They did the integration now, but it's in beta and I didn't have the time to test it.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, if people want help and if there is then an opportunity for it, or it's easy to do, because it's a Beaver Builder is I need myself, so it's very easy to do because it happens on the way, because I know the tool set. With every other page builder, you need to get to know how they work, how they do stuff, and how to best hook into their stuff. So that's not that easy then.
Yeah, because majority of them are coded differently. So you need to dig in the code base and see how they have implemented it.
Yeah, but not everybody is that open-minded like Justin to fast. Sometimes feels he expects our ideas and things. So most of the stuff you need to integrate is there, like filters or like a proper object or something where you can go in and just change the settings like you need it.
Yeah, and I've heard this from a lot of people who build products around Beaver Builder. Now, I'm not saying it because I use Beaver Builder and I'm a fan of it. It's just like Beaver Builder has a more neater way of implementing, and you can extend Beaver Builder via add-ons, and building that add-ons is very easy based on how the Beaver Builder itself has been coded.
Yeah, it's my feeling too, and that's thanks to the they have a head start. I mean, Beaver Builder was the first real page builder that got traction. I mean, there are others, but they are, I think, one of the first bigger ones.
Or I should say, first new generation page builder who actually served something good, because old generation page builders were like a one category. They were like more of a, what you call bloat. Build website, but Beaver Builder doesn't do that. And there are new players as well. You mentioned Breezy, and there's another one called Oxygen, and they keep dropping. I don't know how, I guess everyone is now waiting for Gutenberg to drop a big time and then see how things change. So let's talk about Gutenberg now. Do you see Gutenberg in any way affecting the use of custom fields or custom post type? Any good or not so good outcomes
I
that it can
think
bring?
it might help custom post types a little bit
Okay.
because there are stuff like templates so that you can just put out your custom post type right into the post.
Mm-hmm.
Not didn't dig fully into it because it's a very moving object to play around with Gutenberg. But I don't think that Gutenberg will replace page builders.
Yeah, that's
It,
true. A lot of blog posts
it
are doing that just to get the eyeballs, but Gutenberg is different as of in current avatar. It's very different. It works in post editor, whereas page builder works everywhere now. Maybe down 4 years down the line, Gutenberg can become a page builder, but not in near future.
I'm not sure that will happen that soon, due to the fact that you need a very controlled environment. If
Yeah.
Beaver Builder doesn't work on a page, then there is a support of Beaver Builder. You pay for it. They tell you, okay, don't use this other plugin because
Yeah.
JavaScript is interfering and all that stuff. But if you have a WordPress core product, it's kind of needs to work everywhere without exception.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work with JavaScript because one bad plugin that injects something on the wrong place in the wrong way loads a library which is outdated and your front end breaks and doesn't work for WordPress. And that's, I think, it's the main reason why Gutenberg is a back end editor and not a front end one, because the front end is in a controlled environment, and the pods Freud. The WordPress admin is a controlled environment, more or less, because there's far less styling and JavaScript going on than on any front end.
So are you like testing pods with Gutenberg as of now? Like, how is it playing?
Not really. I didn't play. I didn't try to output custom fields, but it should just work.
Would
Like
uh,
shortcuts work
yeah,
currently,
would
and
short
they
template shortcodes would work? Pod shortcodes, smart codes, would they work in
they
Gutenberg
should. I mean,
blocks?
there will be tests, and it's on our to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
I read something from Scott that the basics should just work. It's just a matter of how we output the user interface in the back end and stuff like that.
Because one big,
And
advantage in the whole setup that I see is that you can easily output a custom field value in a post by just using the pods shortcode within the section, Guten section, or what Guten blocks, what you call.
yeah,
So that would be good, but then that would be like I'm making one post, I'm outputting one value of a custom field rather than outputting that
yeah,
value in a loop where it shows in a every post. So that's another trouble in itself, like in as far as Gutenberg implementation is concerned, because people will demand for more than after this implementation.
yes, of course. I mean, there is an kind of template you can create for a custom post type. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we might go, or where Scott might be thinking of going, to have this template just be created by pods, and then you just, because you can, Gutenberg, you can say, okay, this custom post type looks like this and this and this, and can predefine the fields, and they have just to fill it out, and then it's in the post type. Yeah? So that might be
Yeah,
like a crossover
I
in
guess
this
you can
area.
use the existing feature where when you use pods templating system that show this all these values of custom fields after this content or before this content or replace the content area. Maybe you can go in that direction, probably, I don't know.
Yeah, that will work either way, because this before and after or instead of the content
Yeah.
wouldn't affect anything to do with Gutenberg, because Gutenberg, like for users that don't know it, every content which is in the back end,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the content, and the content runs on one filter in WordPress. So it's one singular place where this is output. And if you now put content before this, after this, or just replace this one place, then everything of Gutenberg is gone, or you have before or after it. So that doesn't change in any way. It's like why Beaver Builder isn't affected by Gutenberg, because Beaver Builder just replaces the content. So it's just a replacement for Gutenberg or for the classic editor. So all this stuff will continue to work.
But people
just if you want.
But people are still worried, Beaver Builder will break on Gutenberg. So you've got a lot of things to do. Like you've got to figure out the pods with Gutenberg relationship, and then the Love Life of Pods themer add-on as well with Gutenberg.
Well, luckily, I'm contributing on my free time. I don't get paid for it.
Okay.
So the stuff I like to do, or the stuff I know or can do, because JavaScript isn't surely not my strongest skill set. So I'm just learning or getting better there too. And many things are just, it's always like I know the concepts because I have learned it and I have read it and I have used it, but I'm not a daily programmer. So it's sometimes a little bit harder.
Because you sell chocolates.
Yeah, not only that, but yes, I'm selling chocolates. I make all the business stuff or the technology stuff on the side, like invoices and all that stuff.
But with chocolates around, it's difficult to hold your cravings and control your weight, isn't it?
I'm not that well. I like it, but it's not like I need it.
Okay, let's.
There are other things which are far more worse, like a good meal or.
Okay, let's circle back to custom fields. Now, in case a person is new and he wants to grasp the concept of custom post steps and custom fields, which resource, tutorial, course, or which place on the internet you would suggest that person to go and start digging on him, by himself?
Well, if he plans on using pods, which might be a good idea, there are two videos from Jim, which are on the Pods YouTube channel, or I have a playlist with some resources. Where you have the one is about plan before you build. So why is it important to think beforehand what type of content you have, how to structure it, because that's the most important part that's left out many times by new users. So users have no idea. They just start doing things and don't think, okay, what do I need? What's the goal? What will be my data like structured? What will I be doing with it? So that's one point. And then there is a second one for grow beyond posts and pages.
Okay.
And that's 2 hours. I think they're very good invested to get an idea, to get examples, how you can do it and why is it a good idea to do it. When there's stuff beyond it on a little bit outdated course from OS training, and the rest is like a little bit of Googling. There are many articles around it about custom fields, custom post types. But the simplest way is always like think about a book and then all the additional stuff you have from a book. Like you have an author, you have for example, the year or the date it's written. That's an additional information, because then you can get books by year, or I don't know, the topic from the book. And so we have many information around it, and some of it could be taxonomy and other stuff could be custom fields. Like, I don't know, the number of pages or the number of words or the authors, or that's the easiest way to get to know it.
And people who are new to Pods, they may not know how the Pods logo looks. Why don't you show your t-shirt and
because I have the t-shirt wearing.
Yeah, no, this is how the Pods logo looks. Yeah, if you see this leaf thing, that's Pods, right? Okay, I'll ask for those links that you mentioned, and I'll put those in show notes so that people can, click through and browse those resources to learn custom fields. So now
let's can even add one. There is a comparison from WP Compare, which is done by Scott and another. I have forgotten the second author. Where I think a list of 22 or 23 custom post type solutions, custom fields. So there are really many out there.
Yeah. Okay, so let's switch gears and talk about other tools that power your online business. So what are your current 5 favorite tools that you use in your
Five.
online business?
So, well, first Beaver Builder stack. Yeah, I don't separate them. It's one stack. Then of course pods, because most of the stuff I build is a little bit database driven. The first big thing I did with pods was a bowling database, and there I used pods to store the custom post types and to make the query and to even make some custom queries. So you can add custom SQL queries to a pods query. That's very powerful because it makes all the joins are done for you, and you add just the fields you need, and it makes it very performant too. Then, okay, let's say we have two. What's great? And then it depends on the project or on the needs. I mean, I like WP Rocket because it's easy to use. It's a great caching solution, and on most servers it works just out of the box. And they have a great documentation tool. It's affordable. Then Admin Columns Pro,
Okay.
which I absolutely love, and it's one of the reasons I switched in some implementations from advanced custom types imports to custom post types, because you can easily build quickly an interface, and you have inline edit, and they have an integration with pods. So it's just kind of part of my stack, and you can have nicer user interfaces, not only the post title, because you can then say, okay, I want inline edit of the taxonomy or a pods field or even a pods relationship field. You can all edit in one interface in a table. So number 4. No, 4. One is missing. I don't know. Local by Flywheel for the local development.
Yeah, it's good. If you're on Mac, it's good.
Yeah, together with PHP Storm, it's just very easy to fire up a debugging or Xdebug and to see, okay, where's the value, and to really see it, and you don't have. I mean, you all know how to configure it because you need to go in PHP and set the flag and do that and do this and the port on the right port. And with local by Flywheel and PHP Storm, we say just enable debugging, and PHP Storm is configured, and you start it up and set your breakpoint. And in PHP Storm, it's really awesome. You just see the values line by line and how it changes. It feels almost like cheating.
Okay, so which is your recommended web hosting service?
I didn't find one. I have my own virtual server because it's sufficient for my stuff. I think I read great things about Kinsta and Herd and about all these. They played a little bit around with DigitalOcean and the various options there with Cloudways and stuff, which looks really nice. For me, currently, my own server is just cheaper, and I can configure stuff like I like it. I'm searching for a host where I say, okay, because many sites I build this for friends and family and small businesses. They don't really need that high power hosting, but I think the site should still be fast and decent. So, but the most hosting solutions out there are either those cheap for me and pay $3 a month, or if you want a little bit, which has a nice user interface, which has a little bit of staging options and stuff like that, and then you pay, I don't know, $50 or $100 per site.
Yeah.
There's nothing where I say, okay, I have a nice tools, but low performance sites. So I'm either thinking to switch all those little sites to one multi-site install and use one of the bigger ones. But I'm not quite there yet.
No, multi-site is a scary setup, it goes down, all sites goes down.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. On the other hand, you don't have to update each site.
Yeah, few people use it. Like they would like few people who have agency with, very small brochure kind of website clients, they would just use one multi-site install on a premium hosting service like WP Engine or Flywheel, and they'll put all those sub sites under it as a multi-site, but it is counted as just one WordPress install. So
Yeah.
they do save in on money as well. And WP Engine supports it, and they also have that mapping, domain mapping feature. So client would not have any problem accessing their own individual panel and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
next
and
question.
Beaver Builder supports multi-site.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a nice feeling, but I'm not quite there yet because my VPS just works and isn't that expensive, and for the low traffic sites, it doesn't matter. It's idling most of the time.
So the next question, I already know the answer, but I'll still ask you, which is your recommended page builder?
Well, isn't the question answered?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna twist this question now. Which is your recommended page builder other than Beaver Builder?
I'm not sure. I think Elementor looks solid and is a good solution maybe for starters or just one-site users. I get the feeling it tends to break on updates because I'm sometimes
You are not alone.
Which Breezy looks really interesting.
Yes.
Because the user interface is really great from the idea behind. But currently, I mean, they are working on it to reduce it, but currently, I think they still depend on their server being there.
Exactly. You can't use offline because most of their resources while using Page Builder get loaded from their server. So that's it. Breezy is good as far as looks and functionality is concerned, but they do have certain basic features missing. So they have that on to-do list. So till that time they check those to-do list off. I think the only Page Builder is Beaver Builder, right?
Yeah, currently yes, because then there's an Oxygen, which is a neat idea.
Yeah, they throw the basic fundamentals out of the window. You don't need a word when you use Oxygen. I was surprised. You don't need a theme and you use Oxygen. That's kind of weird. You don't need tires to drive a car. That's
well, I mean, in the end, it isn't that really wrong, because if you take Beaver theme, that's just basics, and with Thema you don't need many of this stuff because it's taken care of. The servers are performant enough to take the overhead that you use for a simpler interface and for just easier stuff. I mean, we know we just need to create another PHP file, copy the content over, and have a template for that site. But it's so much easier to just say, okay, that template is that side. Okay, no, let's switch it over there and add this conditional, be done with it. And you can even hand it over to an advanced client, say, okay, just over there, change that, and you're done. And the rest is I don't know. There are some good ideas out there, but none of them has this wide adoption like Beaver Builder or the community around it. Because the strength of Beaver Builder, I mean, it's awesome what happened in the last year. Like, take up a Wallace inline for the inline editing, which is great for client to hand over. Like the Beaver theme stuff, which is came out like the how do I say, bulk edit for modules. I didn't really test it yet, but it looks awesome because it's something I miss with Beaver Builder. If you build more sites to just, damn, the client changed all the colors, so I don't know. We need to do spacing on all modules, and you go click and click, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's things. That's the reason why 3 years back I said, page builder, who needs that, and why is this a good thing? Yeah, so I was very skeptical at start.
Yeah, because
but it makes things easier.
Yeah, even when because I went from Genesis world to Beaver Builder world, and page builders traditionally had that bad tag that they add bloat. They are not good because the previous generation page builders were actually like that. They were clunky. They didn't work. But Beaver Builder is fresh breath of even Elementor is really good. Yes, it does have little problems here and there, but it's actually the audience for which Elementor is made is different than what for which Beaver Builder is made. If you see from bird's eye view, that Beaver Builder is used more by people who are into agency setup and who build sites for clients,
Yeah.
as compared to Elementor, where you do get agency clients, but majority of them are like do it yourself, who are building their own website as a hobby or maybe as a serious thing, and they want to maybe expand further. So page builders, interesting topic. We can go on forever. So let's move on to
Yeah,
the
for
next
hours.
one. So which is a recommended email marketing service?
Well, for the most of the small sites, I use just MailPoet because I'm not dependent on whatever stuff out there, and you can do your basic emails, and you can. They changed it a few weeks that you even can make those welcome or email newsletter services. To be honest, most of them never reach their 2,000 subscribers limit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's even a very good free option. For transactional email, I currently use Happy Post, which they changed their model quite around. But it was always like for emails, they get opened, you don't pay, and you get a huge credit to start with. So it's more or less free for all those small usages too. Because email is one of the most annoying things to get done right. I always tell my clients, no, I don't host emails. I don't want to have to do anything with. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Even for our own company, I always tweaking around, and because we don't send many emails and you don't get even information, but Google's just, yeah, you're spam. We don't know why, but you're spam, and you can't find out why, because you have everything set up, everything checks out, you have all tests out there, and still for some users, Google reports it's spam. Because you're a low volume sender and they don't care for you. But it's just more or less only Google which is the problem. So yeah, it's and some like MailChimp, but I tend for especially for the small clients, I like to have stuff in-house or like configure it myself, because now never know, they go out of business, they lose your data. Maybe a little bit paranoid, but I don't like this trend to have everything somewhere in the cloud, and every few months there's the next big to use tool, and you spend more time getting to know the tool than to be productive.
So any upcoming tool or service that has caught your eye recently, like you're excited to use that service or tool, or you think it can fit in your stack of toolbox?
Not really. I'm thinking of a few tools which I already have, like Project Huddle, which is really great for getting feedback.
Mm-hmm.
It's like to get an interface, and you can click there, and then you can have a note from the client, and you can answer, and they added the options to upload files and stuff like that, which I like to use more. Or it's always like how to fit it in your workflow and to make it properly. And then on the end, I'm just looking around in the Beaver community to see how which tools are new, or like Beaver compromising what is inline got added to the stack. So it's always surprising with what people come up as a new idea to solve problems or to solve stuff.
Now, one thing that you have gone from offline business to online, and you now manage both offline business and online business, and your offline business brings in majority of money, and online business is more of a hobby, but now it's getting serious. Now, This kind of setup is followed by a lot of people, and I'm sure they would be interested how you plan to generate revenue or create verticals of revenue in your online business, say down the line in few years.
It's currently trying to figure out where to fit it in or to find a niche. Or the thing is, if you don't need the money, it's far easier to experiment.
Exactly.
We say, okay, part of my time is like for developing my hobby business, and we already got one big how do I say offer? No, not offer. A big job, like 5 figures once. So I think I had the discussion recently with a friend of mine, and I told them I don't think the majority of people have no luck, or have how do you call the opposite, bad luck or so.
Bad luck.
I think bad luck. I think most of the people just miss the opportunities because they are too busy looking around, or taking the opportunities they are right in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I personally think I'm not that creative that I have the next big idea. Like
Okay.
our chocolate business just happened on the way along because somebody asked us, "Oh, wouldn't that fit into your product range?" And then this guy
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to continue his business, so we took it over from him and gone from there. So I think the important thing is to start something and see where it goes, because most of the self-employed people, I don't think that they started with the same thing which they ended up making money with.
Yeah, that's exactly true. What I started with 10 years ago, not it doesn't relate anywhere what I'm doing now. In fact, what I was doing even 4 years ago doesn't relate to what I do now. So, and all those things have changed because I am little adventurous. I try new things. I build new things because I I don't know. I have this knack that I want to do this project, and most of these are like side projects, and some of them side projects become main projects. Like even ProBeaver. ProBeaver was a side project, but it has now become one of my main focus area when I in my work profile, and it does generate good amount of money. I would be very I have nothing to hide in it. It does generate a lot of money for me, and
Yeah.
I never made money via affiliates. When I tried affiliate marketing like few years back for making money as an affiliate, I failed miserably. But here I didn't even try. I didn't My
Yeah,
intention was not to make money, but it did happen by itself. I guess when you put your heart into something, the outcome is way sweeter than you would be projecting on map or something. So
definitely. It's
interesting.
like a guy, I don't know, a short video I watched, and he told like he started things 8 or 10 years ago, and everybody told him he's crazy and you can't make money with it. And over the years, he built it up, and now he makes money from it. And somewhere along the way, he started his next thing and told, "Yeah, well, you'll see in 8 to 10 years, maybe it will make money." Because it's like uh, in the start, you told I'm famous in the community, and I didn't start to do any of that. I just happened to use pots and to use Beaver and had an idea and just did it and helped people on the way because I knew how to do it. And I did see the potential for pots, and there is just missing marketing and missing documentation. And yes, the barrier to entry is a little bit higher, and everybody says ACF. I don't know why, but it's like that. And it happened on the way. And I said, okay, I'm famous. Okay, I didn't see it like that. Okay, but if you tell me, yeah, and that's the point. If you do things you love and you take it not too seriously, then everything can happen. You just can't force it.
Yeah, because if you start something with the intention of money as the main center point, most likely you would fail because your focus would be just on money, figures, and money is something that doesn't come easy. So even I go back to the example of ProBeaver. I didn't make even a single penny in 8 months when I launched it. because my intention was not to make money, because money wasn't, I just did it because I wanted to share, because I was a Beaver Builder user then, and I was following every update, because when you're using a product, you always have your eye on, what's happening there. So I just put my, whatever I was gathering for my personal need, I was just publishing on a website. That's what I was doing. So after that, I just
Mhm.
started putting some affiliate links, primarily because people who were building, there were a lot of people who started building the add-on products for Beaver Builder. I just started putting the links, and things just started converting. So
Yep.
I guess. So,
Yeah, that's like that happens.
yeah, life, it's surprising. So one last question. How do you stay focused when you have offline business and online business? Because I'm sure you are more interested, or you feel better working in the online stuff as compared to offline, considering.
Well, luckily for the most part of the real offline stuff, like picking up, going to customers, that's the job of my brother, because I told him that's his job.
I am the pods guy. I don't do that.
So besides from the occasional trade show or some other stuff, it's most of the things on the computer. The tricky thing is always to stay away from social media or other rabbit holes which you can go
Uh-huh.
down. Like so, I mean, much of the stuff I know I have learned answering questions from users. I think it's the best way to learn, because normally you think, I know how that works. And then somebody comes along and asks a question, and how is that? And then he asks an even weirder question, why is that like that? And then you say, okay, I know the answer, but let me try that. Yeah. And half an hour later, you have learned something and figured out something and provided an answer. So doing support, if you like, if you have the opportunity, like I do it, because I can pick the question I answer in the general pod support, because I'm not paid for it. And if I know the answer and don't have time, I'll answer it. And if not, then so be it. I can't help everyone. Um, and but I do answer all the questions around the plugin, of course, as good as I can. And that makes that keeps the fun in it, because else it would become boring and the same thing. And yes, uh, it depends how the users ask, how deep you go to find an answer. Yeah, because if I get the feeling a user can't even go and type his question into Google, I don't tell it to them and I don't write it. But there are times where I think, okay, sorry, it's easy. Just type your question, same words into Google, and read the answers. And then sometimes you feel like a little bit like they want to use your free time to build their own stuff, and that's not the idea behind it. So if they're stuck and you can help and point in the right directions, fine. Most of the time, users don't get the solution from me, because I say, okay, and that's the idea, and there you find the tutorial, but I don't write the code for them,
Okay.
because they should learn it to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to invest the time to write it down, because I can point them and they can figure it out on themselves then.
So,
Because else the next day they came and want code again.
so pods is also helping you in your offline life. Like, you tell your brother to send packages to customer. I'll just sit here and make a website for a chocolate business using pods. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
But you know that their own stuff is always the least cared for.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I make websites for people, and my own website is a mess. The agency website, this is true for majority of website people who make websites for other people. Their own website would look like a deforested forest, like all the trees gone. So
One is very basic for exactly that reason, and I always think, okay, I could do a little bit more. Guys, for a reason, no blog, because I wouldn't be consistent in writing, and well, yeah, the rest is just history. And the thing difficulty is you know what could be done, and then you can't do that what you do for clients. Say, okay, we don't need that, we do that, and that, because that's what you need. And doing it for yourself is it's always getting out of hand.
Since you are the PR guy for pods, the public relation guy for pods, for all,
I don't know. I mean,
unofficial public relation guy for all of us who use pods, do you have some message for all the pods users?
Keep on using it. No, love. No, not really. Just if you have a question, ask it. More than that, that we don't have the right answer can't happen. And if you like it, contribute a little bit of documentation or your use case. I always tell the people, if we help them, just give us back what you've done, because that can help others. It really happens. That's for sure the best thing you can do. Write about it or provide an example how you did it and tell others, because I think pods isn't the solution for everything. No way. But I think it's underrated.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So keep on using is the message for people who use pods. What is the message for people who do not use pods, but other stuff like pods?
Try it out.
No, that's very simple. You need to be fancier.
I think the main selling point for pods compared to all other plugins is the way how relationships are done.
Okay.
There's a short video about the new user interface with 2.7 for how we call it now, flexible relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the easiest way to do relationships, because toolset is a little bit more complex. And the ACF doesn't have the full interface for it, especially for bidirectional stuff. But it's in pods, it's just as easy as create 2 custom post types, then link 2 fields and say, okay, you're related to them or to them, and make it bidirectional. And you can access the information. Like, I don't know, traversal from one field to the other, and pods takes care of all the stuff behind it. So, for example, if you have the back to the book and the author, if you have the author and the bidirectional field books to the books, and in the other way around, you can say you have the author and just list, even with Beaver Builder. It's totally simple, because it took me some time to figure it out. But take a post module, say relationship field, select a field, and you have all information output from the author, all books, or from the books, all authors. It works in every way and every field, and if you understand that concept, you can build, I call it applications or advanced stuff, not only a blog post or a site, but something with a little bit more structure or content behind it.
I asked you for a fancy pitch, and you gave relationship thing, which is not fancy. It's brain drain. Okay, Bernhard, thank you so much for your time. Like, we are running out of time now, so thank you so much for your sparing some time and coming on the show and flaunting your Beaver Builder sweatshirt plus pods t-shirt. Any last message?
Not really. I'm not the kind of guy for last words or last messages. Just love what you're doing and try the best.
And keep using pods. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Yeah!